This is key number 4 of 10 keys to grow your business by 10 times. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to focus on your exceptional expertise and delegate everything else. You're going to be blown away with what will happen when you learn this. So I'm Doug Andrew, and I've started many businesses in my lifetime. In fact, I've been doing this as an entrepreneur for more than 48 years. Now, my primary business is a financial strategist, a retirement planning specialist. I've also authored 12 books thus far. And at the end of this episode, I want to gift you a free copy of my book called The 10 Keys Transformation. So as we go through this, hang on, because I'm going to talk about how to determine what activities that you're doing that you're incompetent at, you're weak at, and get rid of those, delegate those, and then move up to the ones you're competent at or that you're, adequate, but you don't want to do those. You want to start focusing on the things that maybe you're excellent at or that you're strong in and so forth. But what you want to do is focus on the things that you're exceptional at, that you're superior at, and delegate everything else. Now, I know when I first heard this, I thought, golly, I don't know if I can do that. I'm saving money by doing some of these activities myself. No, it's costing you money, and you're going to see why. So get ready, here we go. This is key number 4. And again, I have 10 episodes covering 1 key per episode. So search this channel. And as I proceed here, if all of a sudden you get a few epiphanies and you can think of another business owner that ought to hear this, be sure and share. Post a comment, click like, okay? Now, this is how to exponentially elevate your career, profits, customer engagement in 60 months or less while simplifying your life. I know what I'm talking about. I did this. These 10 keys I have presented out of over 100 principles that I've learned by investing over $3 million in my life sharpening my saw, as Stephen Covey would say. I belong to many mastermind groups like Strategic Coach and Genius Network and 12 Leaders. And it has not been a cost, it's been an investment. But I presented this to many large groups like the $1 Million Roundtable. And I got standing ovations every time I would present this to orthodontists, realtors, chiropractors, it didn't matter. Now, I actually in 1990 was a member of the top of the table, making, at least $500,000 a year net. And by following these 10 keys, I took my income in less than 60 months up to over $5 million. So you can do this too, and this is key number 4 as we proceed. And at the end, I'm going to show you how you can claim a free copy of this 10 Keys book. So key number 4, I say operate within your exceptional expertise and delegate everything else. You can do this. Now, whenever I talk about getting clarity on where you're at, that's what a GPS does. Because if you were about to go on a trip somewhere, for the very first time, what's the most important piece of information you need to know? Most people blurt out where you're going or how to get there. Nope. See, when using a GPS, it uses triangulation. It does that by honing in on 3 out of about 30 satellites that orbit this Earth for that very purpose. Once it has clarity on where you are at within 2 square feet on this globe, then you program in where you're wanting to go, and it will show you all kinds of ways to get to your desired destination. The freeway, the scenic way, the byway, and also where to refuel your car or yourself en route, okay? So I like to use this as an acronym when I say GPS. So in my 10 Keys book, when we talk about this, you want to get super clear on where you're at. And that's why in the book, I actually have a scorecard, and I'll show you this at the end, where you can go through all 10 keys and score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. And when you do this, you'll have a number between 1 and 100. And don't kick yourself if your score is only in the 30s or 40s, but that's where you're at. Now you're wanting to program in where you're wanting to go. Most people want a higher score in the future. In fact, I've never met anybody that doesn't. And so the purpose of these episodes is to get your score over 90. out of a possible 100. So when we talk about GPS, the acronym I use is GPS Goals, Plans, and Systems. So as we look at this, key number 4 is to get super clear on where you're at and what you're really exceptional at, and start realizing what activities that you're doing that you're weak at or incompetent, and begin to delegate those to other people. So let me show you a way to do this. There are a lot of different strength finding tests that are out there. On the screen, if you can't read this, I'll just read down the checklist. The Kolbe is the one that I'm most familiar with. That's Kolbe. I know Kathy Kolbe. And this is a score that helps you determine, as you answer 50 questions, because the answers are not right or wrong. They're all situations, and it will tell you what you would most likely do in a given set of circumstances or situation, and what you would least likely do. And then you get a score on a scale of 1 to 10 on if you're a good fact finder, and that's what you like doing, or whether you're a good implementer, or whether you're a quick start, you come up with the ideas, or whether you're an implementer or whatever. And so once you know your score, you want to surround yourself with people who are strong in areas that you're weak or that you don't enjoy doing. It doesn't give you energy. Now there's the Winslow assessment. I've done that one. There's the DISC, D-I-S-C assessment. That's very revealing. I use that, and I actually ascertain what my clients and customers, where they fall on the DISC. There's the Gallup-Clifton Strengths Assessment. There's the color code. Did you ever hear of the book called The Color Code? This assigns a color of red, yellow, white, or blue to you, what you're most dominant in. And it's pretty revealing, but there's others. So what you're doing is you're trying to find out, what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing in a set of circumstances? What would you most likely do? And what would you least likely do? So just because I'm good at fact finding, I can find things really fast. That doesn't give me energy. I'd rather delegate that to somebody else who's a good fact finder. I want to be on to my next idea. So I may be good at certain things. That doesn't mean that because I'm good at it, I should do it. I want to do only the things I'm exceptional at. You'll see this makes more sense as I go. So the one I mentioned that I use the most is the Kolbe. So on the Kolbe score, this is where, by answering 50 questions, my score years ago, and it has stayed the same, is 3495. What does that mean? Well, simply put, it doesn't mean I'm bad at fact finding. I'm actually pretty good, like I said, but it's not something I would rather do with my time. It doesn't give me energy, so it's only 3. On follow through, can I follow through? Everybody says, oh yeah, Doug, you follow through better than most people we meet. I don't like to follow through. I like to delegate that. See, over here on Quick Start, I'm a 9, okay? Because, I'm ready, shoot, aim. I mean, I get ideas and I just want to go. I just want to start testing them. I don't want to sit there and analyze, and for weeks and weeks, I've learned the lesson. No, you have to start testing it. So I'm a Quick Start. I come up with ideas. Now over here is implementer. I'm a 5. Now I've been called the poster child of implementation. That's because I do implement. But I began to delegate to a project manager the implementation of my ideas. So I had to begin to hire people that were really good, 9 or 10, in fact finding, in follow through, in implementing, and I just focus on coming up with the ideas. Is this making some sense? Now, you may be very good at fact finding, but you have to know what you're good at. Once you do this, then you determine what activities you're doing. The first time I did this, my coach Dan Sullivan had us go out for 90 days and keep track of every activity we did. And we came back with 100 or 200 activities. And we had to separate the activities into 1 of 4 categories. The ones that we were doing that we were weak at, okay, that we were incompetent at. I had a big list of those, like changing oil on my car or whatever. And then the next one was the ones that I'm okay at, I'm competent, I'm adequate. And then the ones that I'm strong at or excellent at, those were a smaller list. But then at least 3 things that I do that I'm exceptional at, that I'm superior at. How can you tell those? Those are the ones that give you energy and passion. There are things that I'm excellent at, but I always just did it because it had to be done. And I sort of bought into Oh, if I taught somebody else to do this, it would take me longer than if I just did it myself, so I just did it. But it didn't give me energy. I had to project myself in the moment in front of a client, seeing the lights go on in their eyes. But doing the actual preparation of their plan was okay. I was really good at it, but I finally hired somebody. Were they as good as me? Not at first. But after about 3 months, they started to do them as good as I did. And then they started to make them better than I did because I didn't have the time to tweak them. By focusing on these, I had to let go of the things I was weak at first. My income went up. Then I had to start delegating the things I was adequate at. And my income went up. I could afford to hire people who do these things, and they were superior. The hardest was getting rid of the things I was excellent at, that I was strong at. But when I did, my income went through the roof, and I only focused on the 3 things I'm superior at. Now, in case you're wondering, well, what were your 3, Doug? Okay, I'll disclose. When I get in front of audiences, taking complex things and making them simple, I'm in my element. I'm like an Energizer bunny. So the more I do that, the more my income goes up. The second way is to do it in the form of recordings or a radio show or a YouTube channel, okay? Again, a recording, being in front of a camera. The third way is writing. By writing a book, and I actually dictate my books, then the more I get it out in the written format, and then in the audio and video format, and then in the live presentation. And I began to focus just on those 3 things, and I delegated everything else, and this was a big factor to 10 times in my income. Are you getting it? So when you go through, let me summarize this. And again, if this is resonating with you, subscribe to this channel. It's free. I post an in-depth answer to a question almost on a daily basis. But be sure and watch the other 9 episodes or 9 keys of these 10 keys. This is just one of them. So I'm the quick start, remember, under Colby. I come up with the ideas. In fact, when I come back from a vacation or whatever, or fly fishing or riding my Harley Davidson up the canyon, everybody goes, oh, Doug's going to be back. He's going to have a whole bunch of ideas. Yeah, I come up with the ideas. I have to sort of restrain myself to only share 5 new ideas every quarter. But I come up with the ideas, and then I have a project manager that I hired who scores 9 or 10 on what? Doing the fact-finding and the implementation. And then what? Once we get it going, then we have a process manager that makes sure that the idea recurs, okay, predictably, like a well-oiled machine. The difference between a project manager and a process manager is huge because most entrepreneurs have people in the wrong seats on the bus. They have project managers that are really process managers. So I'll just clarify that real quick. See, if I come in with a new idea and I'm all excited and I present it to my project manager, and if the project manager goes, oh, no, I don't want to hear about that new idea. I haven't implemented the last one you gave me. He's in the wrong seat on the bus. He's a process manager. Process managers take pride in following it through and keeping it going. So you need to change that person to a process manager. A project manager goes, oh, I can see why you're so excited about that. I can see why you want to put the others on the back burner for a few weeks and implement this one ASAP. Let's go for it. Because a project manager sees your same vision. They get bored watching the predictable process. So you've got to get the right people in the right seats. Does that make sense? You don't know that unless you do a profile on every one of your key people. So you're wanting to surround yourself with this incredible team. Now, in the book that I'm going to show you how you can get a free copy of, if you print it out, it's going to be this thick. But you can also listen and learn. But in the book is the scorecard. And when you fill this out, I've been talking about key number 4. So let me just give you an example. When you ask yourself these 5 questions, if you're not sure what your exceptional expertise is, and you've never done an activity inventory of where you spend your time, that's a 1 or 2. Oh my heavens, are you spinning your wheels? That would be the bottom rung on the ladder. If you engage in too many activities in which you're weak or just adequate, thinking you're saving money, no, you're costing yourself money. So, I like to do yard work for about 1 hour on Saturdays. After that, it's work. I would rather have a caretaker do the rest of it, and then I just ride my Harley up the canyon and think of my next book. See, I'm not saving money by doing the yard all day long, except 2 days a year when I plant and when I harvest in the fall. But the other time, I just do it for the therapy for about an hour, and then I go do something that's going to help me create more money, and I hire a caretaker or whatever. Does that make sense? If you delegate tasks that you're weak at, but you feel you must do all the things that you're adequate at, that you're excellent at, now you're getting there. But folks, the hardest thing that I had to do was learn to delegate the things that I was actually excellent at. And so if you're strong or you're excellent at something, you want to delegate that finally to somebody, and you'll see your income go up. So the ultimate score of a 9 or 10 out of a possible 10 would be you delegate what you're adequate and strong at and spend 80% of your time doing the 3 things that you're superior at, that you have exceptional expertise. As you do that, watch your income go through the roof. So that is key number 4. And again, this book is the sum total of what I've invested over $3 million in my life to learn. I don't want you to take as long as it did for me. I've helped many people like you take their business to 10 times in less than 60 months while simplifying their life. So go to free10keysbook.com and you can get a copy digitally. There's options there to get the audio. But when you're in there, I would strongly recommend you look at getting the 10 Keys Masterclass. I devoted 18 hours on these 10 keys. But be sure and search this channel for the other 9 episodes so that you don't miss out, because I want you to 10 times your practice in the next 60 months while simplifying your life.